you would mute your mics and also just sign in, joining at 11 a.m. to noon.
Where do I do that at?
If you scroll like up to the top of your screen, there's something that'll show up, and it's like that microphone. Just click on it. Or sometimes it's on the side, but it's usually hidden until you got it. Okay, alrighty. I think the first 9 o'clock we worked through all the links to make sure that they're now open to all of you. So you can edit, you can view as we go through on this. Yeah, so pop your names in there under the 11 o'clock. I appreciate that. And we'll get rolling. Thinking about today, and just welcome to you all. I think I know most of you. We've communicated on emails. I'll introduce, I'm Connie Richardson with Green Hills AEA, and 23 years in the classroom with basically middle school kids, both gen ed and regular, gen ed and special ed. And
yes.
Oh, somebody's mic's on. And have been part of mentoring and induction since 1999. And the legislation came in 2000, but in AEA 13, we had some schools that wanted to get started earlier, so we started in 99. I've also been part of several statewide teams and also the design team for Journey to Excellence. So I definitely welcome you today. And again, please mute your mics if you haven't muted your mic.
Yeah.
I hear somebody. Okay. All right. And Marietta is also here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I would. And I will tell you that I've had to change rooms for this session.
Okay.
And it keeps popping up on my screen telling me that my internet connection is unstable, and then popping out of Zoom, and it comes back on saying I'm reconnecting. So
okay,
we'll just see how this works for us.
Yeah, and you have your video off, so that should okay.
Well, right. I don't have a camera, so there's no reason to have video.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Marietta Rives. I'm with the Iowa Department of Education. I'm a consultant for the Bureau of Educator Quality. I've been at the department about 7 years, and it's interesting that Connie would bring up what she was doing in the classroom because, so many years ago, before the state of Iowa thought being a mentor was cool, I too was a mentor coordinator and a mentor in my building, mentor coordinator for my district, and have only counseled a couple of people out of teaching. So I've got a little bit of experience with mentoring and induction. However, not at the state level. So I started here in professional development. I hopped over and went to highly qualified teacher in special education. And when Mary Beth Schrader-Frasick retired, I took over the responsibilities of mentoring and induction. So I run the Teach Iowa website. I approve all of the paraeducator certification programs in the state. So it's sort of, my job now is sort of a combination between teacher quality and highly qualified teacher and teacher development. That's where I like to look at it in particular. So I thank Connie for inviting me here today. We did the session at 9 a.m. and I thought it was just absolutely fabulous, very informational. And I hope she shares this experience with all of her statewide advisory committee members so that they too will jump in and offer this same information.
Good. Thanks, Marietta. I'm also glad you're here, and looking at the agenda, we're going to look at some of the current definitions, the template that you might be using right now for your mentoring and induction plan. We'll have a chance to look at the updated mentoring and induction plan that will be submitted by September 15th of next year. And then how does it match mentoring and induction and TLC? So that conversation will continue throughout the hour that we're together. And then an opportunity to touch base on some funding and possible questions that you might have. Then at the bottom of the agenda, I think it's number 7. There's a place that you can add questions that you might have as we go along, or use a chat box. That worked last time too, I think better maybe than putting the questions at the bottom, but you're welcome to do either. So, yeah, so where are we, where we're going? Many of you have used that, every district, sorry, submitted a mentoring induction plan in 2001 and have been asked if there's any revisions to submit those revisions to the Department of Ed. And then every district again will be asked this September to have submitted their plans. That's where we're headed with this information. The piece that I do like about our mentoring and induction legislation is it came with some definitions. So sharing some of the foundational pieces out of the legislation around definitions. And always open. Somebody is not muted. So always ask questions about does this person qualify for a mentor? And so I always go, to the definition and then look at the BOEE website, and that's something that you all might be doing too. But a beginning teacher is a first or second year teacher with an initial license, Class A, an exchange, or an intern license. And they do need to complete 2 years of mentoring and induction and have a successful comprehensive evaluation at the end of those 2 years to move from their initial to their standard license, or if they've got an additional, they could move to a master's license. So the definition. Also, every district is asked to submit a name of a district facilitator and to be the coordinator in-house. And you'll see as we look at some of the documents, the pieces that are shared for the roles of the district facilitator. And a mentor is defined with respect to a beginning teacher. Can be a current teacher or a retired teacher. You need to have a valid license, 3 years of successful teaching experience. And when the legislation first came out, it was 4 years and was changed, I think, about 3 years ago to 3 years of successful teaching practice. Is employed on a non-probationary basis. And probationary, if you look up the definition in the legislation, if I go to a district as a brand new teacher and I teach there 3 years, I fulfill my probationary period. If I move to another district after that time, then I have usually 1 year. I'm on probation in that district. Okay, and we actually encourage our beginning teachers to stay in a district for 3 years to meet that probationary period. This is talking about mentors in this definition. So a mentor would need to be non-probationary in your district and have those special qualities of being excited about teaching and commitment to our profession. So, and a couple people have joined us by phone, so we'll keep rolling. The current template that I shared in 2004, we had some meetings and shared this electronically with districts. We'll look at that in just a second, but we do have actually 79% of our districts participate with first and second year beginning educators and mentors in our Journey to Excellence program this year. And the goals definitely are to support your mentors and provide the mentor training, and then also provide that curriculum, the Journey to Excellence, the binders that you've seen around, right? for the focus around the Iowa teaching standards. So if you open that, I'll open it too. And we'll kind of walk through probably the last plan that you updated or the last plan that you submitted. The new plan looks a little bit different. It's going to be submitted electronically. In 2001, you submitted it on paper. So moving ahead. The pieces of the plan, the goals, mentor training, mentor selection process, support to beginning teachers, your organizational support, and then your program evaluation are all coming up. So starting with the goals. The goals of the mentoring and induction program are 6 are listed, and the first 5 are straight out of the legislation, and number 6 is an additional goal added with the Journey to Excellence program. So this is built around the Journey to Excellence mentoring and induction program. Super goals. We want to get the greatest teachers. We want them to get on board more quickly. They feel knowledgeable. You have some great teachers coming out. We love working with your new teachers and your mentors. We want them to stay in your districts. There's definitely research that shows turnover in teachers has an impact on student achievement. So we want them to stay and feel welcomed into the culture in your building and your community. The mentor training section C is really the section that's provided with Journey to Excellence, and we use Mentoring Matters. You should have several of those in your district. Both Pat and I have trained with the authors, and they have come to Iowa, and they support when we have questions as we go along. So we have 6 days of training over 2 years, 4 days the first year and 2 days the second year, to prepare your mentors using the learning focused relationships. And the numbers 1 through 8 are the modules that are provided in the training, as well as in-depth conversations around the standards. What's it mean? What's this criteria mean? How do we support it in your district? And preparing the mentors to have those conversations with your new teachers. So what's my role? Am I a coach? Am I just a buddy? And the legislation says you're a lot more than a buddy. So we build the skills and the knowledge around that a mentor needs to feel confident in their role. We also use for a self-assessment and a reference this Understanding the Iowa Teaching Standards and Criteria Framework. It's built off of the research of Charlotte Danielson and aligned with our standards and criteria. So this book is all around the Iowa teaching standards, and we use it as a continuum, a self-assessment for your beginning educators as they move through the Iowa teaching standards and thinking about their progress and their growth. So that's the piece that Pat and I have provided. Christy has been part of that too in the past, providing the mentor training. The selection process has always been part of your mentoring and induction plan. And that's where I definitely see a link with your TLC plans. So make sure that these two align. These are legislated right down here. Those bullets are in the legislation. So a mentor must, okay, must meet those requirements. A mentor for a beginning educator. And we talk about the expectations. We share with them the expectations, this whole confidentiality. How do you work with your principal? Let's have some three-way conversations. Let's build a network of support for the beginning educator. And then this piece, learning, and this is part of the conversations that we hear back from mentors. No, I'm not their evaluator. We caution them, I guess, if they have an evaluator license, that that's not their role at the time. And we say these things when the beginning educators are right with us too, so that they understand that the role of the mentor. If a mentor has completed the 6 days of training, they're welcome to come back for any or all of the days. We do expect them to come back on an update day each year, just to refresh. The Journey to Excellence program was updated last summer, so we've been using the updated version this year. The team got together and made some changes based on recommendations from our team from around the state. Every AEA offers the Journey to Excellence program, plus many districts. West Des Moines, there's, that's one that came to my mind. Fairfield, right? Our Iowa Teacher of the Year is actually a Journey to Excellence facilitator at Fairfield. So we have conversations to say, what do we need to do better? How can we improve? This is also legislated that the mentors are paid $500 per semester for a beginning teacher. When the legislation was first started, and in 2001 up until probably TLC conversations, we've always recommended a one-to-one, one mentor, one beginning educator partnership. Some of your TLC plans are having, because I'm also on our GHAEA TLC team, so I've read a lot of your TLC plans. Some of you might be, not everybody is, moving to like one mentor for 2 beginning teachers or something like that. First of all, I hope that they have more release time to work if they have 2 beginning educators. It is time intensive. And then second, they would definitely be, if you have 2, you instead would be receiving at least $1,000 per semester. So that's that's in the legislation. This piece that they're paid extra, when you submitted your plan, you may have taken that out, you may have added it in. It was in there, and I know that you all customized it for your own districts as you went along. There is at the end of this document, there is a template for a mentor application. So we'll see that as we get to the end. And you also had applications for your TLC positions. So again, to make sure that there's alignment between those applications and opportunities for teachers. So the roles of the mentor and can be listed specifically here. If you have other things in-house that you ask your mentors to do, you would definitely need and possibly have added to this in the plan that you currently have. Support for beginning educators comes from the mentors, for sure. Kind of a recommendation of 15 to 20 hours of interaction. What we have asked our mentors, check in with them almost daily at the beginning of their employment in your district. And then as they move weekly, be sure to get meetings set up. That's one thing that they do on the intro day, so that's our support to them. that when the beginning educators and mentors come together for that intro day, we, before they leave, we ask them to get it set up when they're going to meet, put them on the calendar. Also focus on the phases of the first year teacher, and that's one of the reasons that we meet throughout the year. So usually we have a couple days in August or September with mentors, then one in November and one in March. Each time they come, their new educator is in a different place. So we have conversations about where are they now, how can you best support them, and what does the research show. So the learning projects, the professional learning projects over the 2 years are built around the teaching standards. As we know, and then as it has been very wonderfully documented, that even one teaching standard has connections to a lot of additional standards and criteria. So they find that just, I know you probably can't see it, but which teaching standard and which additional connections are there is documented in each learning project. So the first year, we're looking at basically these learning projects around Standard 6, Standard 3, Standard 4, and Standard 7. Standard 8, the professional responsibility. At both the intro day, we have an ethics section that probably takes, oh, I don't know, 60 to 90 minutes of that chunk of time that day. I was at a meeting with Dr. Espy, the BOEE, on Monday, and if you aren't receiving that newsletter from the BOEE, I'd encourage you all to get signed up to receive it. It had at the end a lot of case studies. They're seeing a lot of ethics complaints coming in around teacher behavior, and the opportunity on the first day that we see the new teachers and mentors to put it right out there. Here are the 8 standards that you're expected, code of conduct and ethics in Iowa. And then again, in January, when we see first and second year new teachers, our support to them, that day also goes back to the ethics piece with some additional information and case studies and things that we look at that day. Year 2, not that they haven't talked about these things in the first year, because they have, but the learning projects focus on the content knowledge, monitoring student learning, and student achievement. So that's the way the support that we have to beginning educators for the teaching standards, and then encourage them to share them, you know, if they want to share what they've learned in their learning project. It's built as an action research project, so they could share it with definitely their mentor, but also administrators if they choose to do so. This piece highlighted was part of the original template, and so when you look at your own plans, you may have added some more things in addition to the support that you provide beyond the mentor and the Journey to Excellence curriculum. And then the last piece here is one of the district organizational. You can see number 1, so it goes with number 1 that's coming up. In the 15 years that we've worked with mentors, time is the thing that they always say, I wish we had more, I wish I had this time. Beginning educators' time is very valuable, and a lot of them, as you know, coach. So they don't have time after school. So it's always said in the recommendations that the release time would be used for the beginning educator to observe other teachers, for the mentor to observe them, and to engage in conversations, reflecting conversations, planning conversations, those kind of things. We learn by doing, and we also learn by watching others. So even if it's like 10 minutes of how do you get your class started, those kind of things, just great opportunities for beginning teachers. I shared with the morning group, and I'll share with you, this is the thing when I think about TLC and beginning teachers. I just wish that some of the TLC plans might have used some of that money for beginning teachers to have a reduced class load so they could do more observing, have more time to plan, have more time to reflect with administrator or mentor, or now you've added instructional coaches, some of you, those kind of things. So like almost like an apprenticeship for a few weeks before they dig in with their full load. That's my dream. Supportive organizational structure. These are all parts of the current plan that you have. So that release time, to, observe, to be observed. Going down, number 4. Supporting the mentors and what they need. And then number 7 is something that has always been part of your mentoring and induction plans, that dissolution process or dissolution clause. And truly, I think Pat Shipley, and she wasn't able to attend this morning, but I think we've only been asked to a couple times to actually meet with a teacher. So you can see that kind of first step is, what if a mentor says to me or emails Pat or something, or you talks to you, what do you do as district facilitator? We usually just listen, have that conversation, say, what are your next steps? What do you think we can do? They try to work something out. If there's still resistance from the beginning teacher of not wanting to meet, canceling out, whatever, there is the opportunity that either you as a district facilitator, or they can ask Pat or myself to have a mediation, like a threesome, mentor, beginning educator, mediator, come up with a plan, see if we can work through that plan, check back after a week, or days. And if for some reason it still isn't working, there's an opportunity to reassign. I say, like 2 or 3 where we've actually had kind of a conversation. We did have beginning educator, email and say, am I supposed to be getting something done here in this? So always there's a follow-up, and we see that as our role. And if it's something that's not ethical or critical, we definitely bring in the administrator, let you know what's going on, but for sure the district facilitator. So we're in communication with you. You're our first point of contact. And that's you. There you are, facilitator for mentoring and induction plan. Some of your responsibilities, and they have to do with being responsible to your district, but also to the state and the requirements of the state. Supporting beginning educators and mentors, letting them know that you're there to support them too. So that's right out of the code. And finally, every district does have and is supposed to be evaluating their program annually. We have used, and I'll show you at the bottom, so around the goals of the program. So in the forms section, there's a mentor application you could use or not. And there's also a survey that we use the Journey to Excellence Mentoring and Induction Program internally with our new staff at Green Hills. And so I put it together as a Google form and send it out to our new staff, our mentors and our administrators, to get feedback on our program, and then share that with Lori Kenyon as the support in Green Hills, and then she shares it with the board. So that's kind of a communication process there. That's where you are, where you've been, and Marietta's gonna get a chance to tell you where we're going. Similarities, differences. So it's number 5 back on the agenda.
Connie, I'm wondering if you could take a minute to stop and give everyone access to these documents and the links.
Serious? They still don't have them?
Yeah, I couldn't get into it either.
I thought I cleaned it. Okay, I will. All right, so let's do it.
Okay. Well, first I'd like to say thank you to Connie for inviting me to do this. This has turned out to be very informational for both me and I think for the folks that have joined here this morning. So I feel like we're getting the information out to people that are interested. So let's see, the long and short of it is, what's new about mentoring and induction? Nothing. What's new about mentoring and induction? Well, we've got lots of stuff. So as a result of the new ESSA has determined that states need to create a new differentiated accountability sort of that accreditation site visit kind of process. Many of you may know that Green Hills AEA went through that just last week. So all the way from the federal level, they've been talking for quite some time about switching things up, changing things up for states and then of course for districts. So as a result of that, the Department of Education has created a new reporting site, and we're calling it CASA. It stands for, is it comprehensive, Connie?
Got it. Consolidated.
Consolidated.
Accountability and support application.
There you go. I knew she would know that. So consolidated. So it's a new version of how you were reporting CSIP and all the other plans in the past. This is a new one. And we thought we would take that opportunity to go through and determine what plans and what is required in Iowa Code to be reported. And mentoring and induction is one of those things that are required to be reported. So many of you probably know that Mary Beth Schrader-Frasick, who's been the mentoring and induction consultant for the Department of Education for many, many years, retired about 2 years ago, and I took over that responsibility. And here's what I found. When I came on board, I had no record of plans. I had no names of anyone to contact. I literally was handed an empty box and said, there you go, be the mentor consultant. And so it's been 2 years and I've learned a lot, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate Connie Richardson and Pat Shipley for sharing their knowledge with me and, you know, getting me to where I am now, I would say. But we've got some ideas of going forward, things that we would like to do. And before we could do that, we kind of have to get a baseline of what's going on in the state. So with the new CASA and the expectation that mentoring and induction plans be on file, we are asking that every district submit a new mentoring and induction plan. And I failed to mention this morning, but you will also, you're obligated to submit a teacher mentoring and induction plan as well as an administrator mentoring and induction plan. Now, overwhelmingly, most of our administrator mentoring needs are met through the SAI, School Administrators of Iowa model, and that's fine because literally there's a box on the CASA that says click here if you use SAI, and if you don't, complete this form. For the beginning teacher plan, you don't have that option. What you need to do is submit your plan. It can be the plan that you've been using all these years if nothing has changed. All you need to do is copy and paste your text of your description for each of those 7 components in that template and upload it to CASA, and it'll be looked at sometime down the road. but everyone is going to be submitting one. So if you're interested in creating a new plan, if it's time for you to go back and take a look at what you said you were going to be doing, this is a great opportunity for everyone to get back into the mentoring and induction game and provide this support for our beginning teachers like they really, really deserve and really need. So I created a much more, in the vein of maintaining streamlined, minimalist expectations, I created what I would consider a streamlined template for this reporting. It's already posted on the Department of Education's website on the Mentoring and Induction page. So if you want to access this document and get started, you are absolutely welcome to. But what you're looking at actually right here is the actual template. So of course, first I need to know which district I'm working with or what I'm looking at. And I'm asking that everybody record their district facilitator. And I guess I probably need to add contact information there somewhere because I don't have a list of district facilitators. And had I had that list, I would have sent you a message 6 weeks ago that said, oh, by the way, you're going to be submitting plans next fall. Are you ready for that? So I need to get some sort of a listserv, a contact list of some sort created so that I know who to contact with the districts when the time comes. So now let's move into what's new and what's not so new with mentoring and induction program goals. It would be reasonable that your mentoring and induction program goals be associated with your district's continuous improvement goals. You know, regardless of whether that's literacy, behavior, whatever your school improvement goals are, I would think they should be related to mentoring and induction. I think you should also make some determination as to what do you want your beginning teachers to know and be able to do. That would be a goal statement. You can have as many or as few goals as you would like to have there, but in the end, at this document, you'll see the program evaluation represented there, and the expectation is that you're going to be collecting data and provide us with information telling us, sharing it with everybody, how well did your program work? Are you able to support and retain really good beginning teachers? In component number 1 that I have listed here, a 2-year sequence of content and activities designed to support a beginning teacher's professional and personal needs. If you are using a program that's designed by an AEA or some corporation and you want to use their description, that's perfectly acceptable. I'd like for you to give some serious thought to exactly what are you providing to your beginning teachers and describe it here. And that description should include things like how you're expecting to enhance their entry into the profession, how you expect them to know and be able to understand those Iowa teaching standards. What are your district expectations there? I think it would be reasonable that you would describe how you would include research-based instructional strategies. Here's our focus in this district, and here's how we're going to go about teaching you about that. But then also that there would be some evidence in your description of how you intend to meet the needs of your beginning teachers, both professionally and personally, by describing this content. Could it be that you're reading the XYZ Mentoring Beginning Teacher book? It could be. But you also need to then go on and explain to me what you're doing with that piece of information. Component number 2 is talking about how you are training your mentors. You can't just hand somebody the crown and the scepter and expect them to know what they're doing as far as being a mentor goes. So it could be that you are engaging in an AEA Journey to Excellence kind of training. It could be that you are engaging in some sort of a corporate model training around mentoring and induction techniques. It could be that you are designing your own. There would be some expectation that the content that you are training your mentors to be able to, their knowledge and skills, to enhance their knowledge and skills as mentors, would include things like a real deep understanding of the research behind, again, the personal and professional needs of beginning teachers, a clear description of the roles and responsibilities of those mentors, strategies to enhance a mentor's ability to provide guidance and support, and I'm going to call that sort of an efficacy sort of knowledge and skill. Do they have the ability to take the leadership role and help this teacher become everything that they can be? Or are they the I swung by their room and asked if they needed any help kind of person? That may not be the kind of mentor that your beginning teacher needs. It would be important that your mentors also have skills in being able to demonstrate classroom practices, to be able to coach, engage in a coaching conversation, that they would be able to look at data and help a beginning teacher analyze that and guide them in creating lessons and providing differentiated instruction for students. And it would also be important that your mentors also know what your expectations are about beginning teachers' competence in those Iowa teaching standards. So even if they are going off to the AEA best practice training, there's a lot of work that the district has to do to get both of these parties up to speed on what that's going to look like here in our district. And I would think this is your opportunity to think about that and your opportunity to write it down and capture it, so that this is not a program that's based on an individual, that it's a program that's based on the needs of the district and how you want to go about handling these issues. Component number 3 of this template asks that you describe your process for mentor selection and application. And I think Connie did a nice job of talking about that you just need to be able to describe to me how you go about doing that. Component number 4 is talking specifically about the placement of beginning teachers and mentors. I have had some of the craziest questions as I've taken over this responsibility. No, it's not okay that your mentor teacher is from a different district because you don't have family consumer science or industrial tech or a secondary physics teacher in your district to mentor somebody else. You need to pull a mentor from your district to support that teacher. Number 5, the process for dissolving mentor and beginning teacher partnerships. Very few relationships last forever, and you just need to be prepared for that in advance. Number 6, this is probably where the biggest changes could potentially be reflected, because we have had so many things added to legislative language in support of teachers, not just beginning teachers, all teachers in Iowa in the last few years, that I think those things need to be reflected here. One of those things being the teacher quality legislation, or the teacher leadership legislation that was added a few years ago. If your beginning teachers have access to an instructional coach, a data coach, any other of those roles that may have been identified in your plan, this would be the place where you'd want to explain to me how those folks are supporting your beginning teachers, in addition to maybe an individually assigned teacher that's their mentor. But I'm talking specifically about things that are for beginning teachers. There's also the 36 hours peer review legislation that was added a few years ago. Those components, it might be time to add in there how those 36 hours are utilized differently by beginning teachers versus career teachers. If you haven't thought about those things, maybe this is the time for you to think about them and to be very overt about writing it down and making a solid plan. This plan should also include things about the time available for your beginning teacher mentor pair to engage in planning, demonstration of classroom practices, observation of teaching, and then engaging in feedback conversations, reflective conversations. So that one that component probably has the greatest degree of change, more so than any of them. And then number 7 is about program evaluation, including what data are you collecting, how do you share that information with other stakeholders, what goal, you should identify your goal statements and then how you are evaluating each of those goal statements. What plan changes have you made since you created your program or whatever. All of those things should be reflected in component number 7.
Okay. I'm going to see if there's any specific questions or if anyone has a question for Marietta right now.
Hi, this is Sharon Whitson at IKM Manning. I have a question about mentoring. Like, we have a new teacher that came in second semester. Does her second year start in January of 2017?
So I can answer that. She came at semesters, so she started in January 16?
Yes.
Yes. And I guess we hope that she was assigned a mentor, that they got started in the program. All right, because a lot of times if somebody comes mid-year or if they have a late hire, they do contact me, so we probably had this conversation. Got her the materials if she's part of the Journey to Excellence, and is working with a trained mentor.
Yeah.
So her requirement is 4 semesters.
So she does. And one of the other questions I have to go with that is that I guess this person will also be your TLC. We just didn't want her to have to restart everything back over if that wasn't necessary.
No.
Okay, good.
So when she signs up then for like the class that she needs to take, does she signs up again for year 1?
Yes. Yeah.
And then
if she's, so it depends on if she's been through the training as far as you're talking about the mentor or the new teacher.
No. The new teacher.
Yeah, sign her up as year 1. Because we don't have a like mid-year on that little sign up drop down. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
And let's see, I did misspeak. There is a question down here in the chat box about can we use retired teachers?
Yeah.
And I actually misspoke there because what I said was that they have to be someone that's in your district. And so although, no, the answer to that question is you can use retired teachers, and it does not have to be someone that's in your district. However, the question that was posed to me a couple of years ago was when I very first began, and it was literally that exact example that I just shared. Well, we don't have a mentor or a family consumer science teacher in our district, so we just assigned him to somebody in the neighboring district. So the expectation is that your mentor be able to share with that beginning teacher what your district expectations are. So maybe the teacher down the road can't do that. They may be able to, but they may not. Research would also show that your best assignment is with somebody in a like content area. So maybe that's their official mentor for getting through the 2 years requirement to get their standard license, but then maybe you also assign them a buddy mentor in the district to help them navigate district expectations. You have some flexibility in the ways you can set that up, but I would like to think that you're being very thoughtful about that. And anytime you would engage in some of those pieces of flexibility, you might want to contact someone at the department or someone at the AEA and make sure that you are covering all the bases the right way.
Yeah. And so that would be different from TLC. As far as I know, the TLC positions, you have to be teaching in the district. You cannot be a retired teacher.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for your questions, and add them in the chat as we go along, or unmute and talk to us. Number 6, I'm not going to go through bullet by bullet. It basically talks about, so the updated plan that you just saw from Marietta and some of the Journey to Excellence pieces. So a lot of what's in your current plan can really just be part of your updated plan that you'll be submitting. So, and if you have questions about that, please contact me. But like component 1 is the 2-year sequence, and component 2 there, the mentor training, and that's really a lot of the support from our AEA is training and supporting your mentors. The dissolution, and then component 7, the evaluation, some samples that were provided. Then number 7 was just to share things where TLC could support, further enhance your support to beginning educators. So that's Marietta gave lots of examples around organizational support and growing that in your district. The last, watching the time here, the last piece is about funding, and in the legislation, you're to receive $1,300 a year for each beginning educator that you enter in your BEDS report. And that goes, again, if they're a mid-year hire, it's 4 semesters. The question was asked, and then this information was shared from Jeff Berger. So there's a link that said the allocation this year from the state was not your 100% allocation, and that you're encouraged not to reduce the funding to your mentors, and said in some cases from the 1,300, I didn't do 81% or 84% of that. You have 300 extra for materials and subs. You know, that's doesn't always cover it. The good news is the materials for Journey to Excellence prices didn't go up, so that will help. And then the training really is heaviest in the first year with 4 days, and then the second year has 2 days. Oh, somebody's got their, would you mute please, Kevin? I can get
Yep,
it.
it's probably me.
Thank you. So, and then after that, there are fewer days, so it kind of helps balance out with your funding. The second piece there, I had from Becky Slater that it was, the final funding was 84.49%. So they take the amount the legislature appropriates, divide it by the number of teachers in your beds, and that's how they come up with that. So thinking possibly around 80% again next year. And then this last bullet there to talk about, I had a district ask me the question, and so I sent it on to Director Wise and heard back then from Becky Slater. So I'll share the question, and it's down below under questions. Here's how it went. How do we pay our mentors, basically? So our district's TLC plan appropriated $1,500 for a mentor. So does that mean that they get the $500 a semester plus the $1,500 per beginning educator that they're mentoring? Or does it mean that they just get the $1,500 that's in our TLC plan? Good question. The second scenario was, you know, what if we have a mentor that's supporting 2 beginning teachers? Does that mentor then receive the $1,500 in our TLC plan plus the $500 a semester or $1,000 for the year times 2 for a total of $3,500 to be a mentor? Or even if they have 2, do they still only get the $1,500? So the response, and it came in an email. Where did I put it? Right there. I just put a bit of it there in terms of how they should receive their funding. Ultimately, it's up to the district. So definitely encouraging you to have some conversations here before you get too far about this money part. The most common way I've seen this done is first to give mentors a supplement from the state, which would be the $500, then add the TLC funds on top of that to get to the amount specified in their TLC plans. So she's saying it would be possibly that second bullet on that one. For example, when I was in Colo ESCO, mentors received $1,000 for mentoring and induction, and then an additional $1,000 from TLC funds to bring them up to the $2,000 stipend in the TLC plan. However, if a mentor teacher had 2 mentees, they received $2,000 from the state, plus the $1,000 on top of that from TLC. So they had $3,000. So they got the $1,000 or the $500 a semester for each beginning educator, plus the $1,000 from TLC. Okay, and then she adds, so this is why, be sure you have a conversation. To be honest, when I was in Colo ESCO, we thought we were very clear about this being the way things were handled. They got the amount specified in the TLC plan, not the amount plus the mentoring and induction money. However, we apparently weren't as clear as we thought, and this led to some upset. So the caution at this point, as you're hiring your mentors, you're talking to your mentors, just be sure, I guess I go back to this part, have conversations about what that means to a mentor in your district. It's exciting that your TLC plans are usually above and beyond the $1,000, the $500 per semester for beginning educators. But I could see where they might think, oh good, so now I get, the $1,500 plus my $1,000. So be sure you have those conversations. And I think Marietta had shared on the DE page, there is some updates, and it's always had allocations, a spreadsheet to the allocations that districts got each year. That has been removed from the mentoring and induction page on the DE. And the last piece, beyond the questions, there's some supporting links. So link to our GHAEA mentoring and induction web page, the DE page, kind of a side-by-side of the 2 plans coming up. And then the registration letter is there if you want to register your mentors and new teachers, and the dates, number 4 and number 5. And then number 6 is like an annual report that I do each year around Journey to Excellence in Green Hills AEA. It just turned 12 o'clock. Do you have any questions? Marietta, do you have anything to wrap up?
I don't, Connie. I can't thank you enough. Again, Connie said, you know where to find us. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions.
Yeah. Thank you all for your time today. And you have my email. Marietta's is easy to find, or I can add it to the agenda too. There might have been something that popped up in the chat. Copy and paste, submit the template that's provided. Super. And the plan, I want to be sure. Yeah. So taking from your original plan to the new plan to be able to add in that information, plus whatever else you're enhancing or supporting it with. Okay. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Connie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Connie.
Thanks,
I'll see you
Christine.
later.